Who inspires you? Your mother? Your child? Inspiration comes in many forms, and at WBGU-TV, you inspire us to bring entertaining and educational programming to our region. Get inspired, stay inspired.
Wood County Fair started harness racing in the early 1950s, and they were one of the original members of the Northwestern Ohio Colt Racing Association. At that time, there were only 5 fairs in the association: the Wood County Fair, the Henry County Fair, the Defiance County Fair, the Fulton County Fair, and the Williams County Fair. And since that, 3 other fairs have been added: the Paulding County Fair, the Ottawa County Fair, and the Van Wert County Fair. So now we have 8 fairs in our Northwestern Ohio Colt Racing Association. Harness racing at most of the county fairs in the area started in the late 1800s. But as I said earlier, the Wood County Fair didn't start racing until the early 1950s. This was one of the newer fairgrounds in the area. This fairgrounds was built in the 1950s, and they started racing at that time. As a kid, I was always in school. I was always the narrator for the musicals and so on. And my uncle raced horses at that time, and he thought that I should be an announcer, and he was the one that got me started as an announcer. I was only 14 years old when I started announcing at the Paulding County Fair in 1960.
First quarter was started at 32 seconds. As they race around the upper turn to come down past the stand line starting. It is still Happy Go Steve by about 2 lengths. Rose Run Nemo's in there second, Shorty B is third. Racing fourth is just...
My style is probably a little different than most announcers. One is I'm probably about the only announcer around that when they introduce the horses, introduce the name of the owner, trainer, and driver. Many of them will only just announce the driver, some maybe the owner and driver, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that announces the name of the trainer also. And I think my style is a little different too, is when the horses go behind the gate, when they're lining up to go to the gate, I think people will know that I'm the announcer. As soon as they hear that, they know that I'm the announcer here that day when the horses go behind the starting gate. People who come to the fair year after year and throughout this circuit, they know what to expect from my announcing. They know about when the horses are, especially if they're in the pari-mutuel, if they're wagering, they know from my calls about when the horses are about ready to go behind the starting gate and how much time they have left to wager and so on. I like being an announcer because I'm in every race. When you're the announcer, you're the only person really that's in every race of the night. With the drivers, they drive maybe half the races or something, so they're not in every race. But as the announcer, I get to be in every race, and I get to feel a part of the race too.
I am an owner, trainer, and driver. I've been participating in the Northwest Ohio racing circuit for at least 40 years. Well, I started driving when I was 18 years old. I have been racing at the Wood County Fair here for probably the better part of 40 years. There was a few years in the middle there that I didn't race here, but there were just very few. So I've raced here, I'll bet at least 40 years. I'm not sure how many races I've been in, but it's probably at least 8,000 races. I've won probably about 1,800 races. I think I've been very successful in that, and that's my goal. That's what I try to do. This year we are at 1 day of racing and only 10 races, and then there are some races with only 3 or 4 horses in that. That is due primarily to the economy and the business in general. In Ohio, we are racing for less and less purses, and fewer people are able to afford to be in it and to own horses. I hope to continue doing this for another 8 to 10 years, depending on health and injuries and stuff like that. It's kind of a disease or an addiction that you get after you've been around horses and have had them and developed the love of it. Maybe the success thing kind of gets to you a little bit. I don't think we're much different than other athletes, whether they be football players, baseball players, basketball players. Once it gets in your blood, it's just awful hard to get rid of. The Northwest Circuit is very fortunate to have 3 people, Bill Peters being one of the main people, to keep this circuit going and make it what it is today.
I keep coming back to these fairs because I love fairs. One question that's always asked me, what's my favorite part of harness racing? And I always say the county fair harness racing is my favorite part because, first of all, we go to a different place each week. It's not going like the commercial racetracks where you go back night after night to the same track. Here we go to a different fair each week, meet different people that are in the administration of the fair, people who work at the fair, maybe different concessionaires and so on. Maybe it's the only time of the year that I might see some of those people is at one fair a year, but I think it's just, again, it's the people. My future as an announcer will be, as long as my health stays good, I will continue to announce at the fairs and try to serve as a race secretary and a circuit secretary as long as they want me.
Scenic Stops is brought to you by WBGU-TV. Support great local programming by giving now at wbgu.org/pledge.